What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Oscar Delahoya. Get this, Oscar Delahoya sides with Terrence Crawford in the Crawford-Spence meltdown. And this is what Oscar Delahoya said about Al Haymon. He said, I have been dealing with this shit for years. I don't blame Terrence Crawford for the guarantee. Every fighter should have a standard guarantee regardless of what sales it produces. And I will go live and I will expose Al Haymon for his circus over there at the PBC. On top of that, he did quote, he said, I have promoted all of the former or all of Al Haymon's fighters, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence, etc. And we went through the same thing. Let me counterpunch. You know, this is going to get bad. I do remember back in 2015, late 14, when Premier Boxing Champions was coming alive and was a thing. It was on free TV for the first time. It was a good look for boxing. A lot of people watched and viewed those particular fights, especially the Keith Thurman and the I believe he fought Guerrero, I believe. And it was a pretty good fight. And it was a lot of showcase fights. Oscar De La Hoya was one of the promoters that tried to shut down Al Haymon's Premier Boxing Champions. And I wondered why he wanted to do such a thing. But now, you know, you see that a lot of these fighters are not getting guarantees. That has been out. That has been exposed. And the question you ask yourself is, you know, are these fighters content with the expectations of pay-per-view, especially if it doesn't do the numbers? Or would they really prefer a guarantee? You know, I think it's how it's presented to them, you know, the incentive plan for them getting paid versus a guarantee up front. You know, it's almost like working at a company making $20 an hour, or you're working as a server and you have the potential to make $25 or $30 an hour serving tables. So it's one of those things where no, one's not guaranteed, but the promise is high, and the other one's a guarantee. And you got to ask yourself which one's better. And I think that's really up to the individual, honestly. You know, but you have to question the motive behind Oscar De La Hoya, though, because again, he was the promoter of all these fighters. And you do have to ask yourself, is this just bitterness, you know, or an opportunity to poke at Al Haymon because of how he practices his particular way of doing business with his fighters? You know, with that, obviously, they haven't really went anywhere, not a lot of them. You know, Adrian Broner did jump ship recently. So if more of those guys decide, you know what, fuck this, I want a guarantee, I'm really not making the money that people say I am, or they tell me to say what I'm making, you know, until that happens, though, you know, we won't really know who's doing what or what's really successful. You know, I do feel, though, a fighter should get paid. A fighter should get paid regardless. You know, they put their risk there, are the ones that put their life on the line for our entertainment. You have to remember that. And regardless if you're pro guarantee or pro incentive, you have to respect that. Something should be granted to the fighter. You know, that's how I look at it. You know, if I used the analogy earlier between, you know, a regular hourly job versus a service job, well, that service still has to get paid something because they are employed with the restaurant that they have the opportunity to make money, you know. So I do think that there should be some type of guarantee. If, you know, if something, a retainer, 250,000 or 300,000 or something, you know, I look at it as a cheap way to not pay your fighters. and expect your fighters to self-promote themselves, to get the numbers up themselves and to do whatever it takes to get the numbers up themselves. But if the numbers never come up, what really good is having an incentive? It only works if the numbers do a certain amount. If it doesn't, they're losing. And a lot of those fights, they don't have that because we're in a market, we're in a day and age in a society that people don't want to pay for stuff. It started with music, then it started with like ringtones and other attachments to music. Then it started with movies, bootleg movies. Then you get a Fire Stick, everything's digital. So if you can watch something, it's just really up to the individual to make a decision to pay for something that is top quality that you will enjoy versus watching it on Fire Stick. It might be choppy or blocky, but you don't have to pay for it. So it's just really up to the individual, if they decide to pay for this or not, but I think a standard guarantee is warranted, but that's just my opinion. I do look forward to hearing this live from Oscar De La Hoya that exposes Al Haymon, and you do have to wonder again if this is just bitterness from Oscar De La Hoya having all those guys once upon a time and losing them to the PBC. Because at some point you have to realize, okay, well, if it's that bad at the PBC, why are these guys still there? So there's a lot of questions you take into consideration just playing devil's advocate. But you guys tell me what you think of Oscar De La Hoya stating that he will expose Al Haymon in the PBC. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunched. Peace!